Namaste, my friends. Welcome to the Happy Jack Yoga podcast. I'm Happy Jack, coming at you live from right here, Happy Jack Yoga headquarters in Muskoka, Ontario, Canada. And as always, I'm here with.
Happy Hannah, and I am today in Rome, Italy.
That sounds cool. That sounds very exotic. Rome. I've never been to Rome. I've been to Italy, like Venice and up in the north, but I've not been to Rome. But this is the cool thing about technology today. Regardless of where we are, you can hop in a flight, sleep in an airplane, and all of a sudden we keep doing what we're doing. Or you can be like me, who, because of the snowstorms on the East Coast, your flight can get canceled. And when you're supposed to be in Boston, you're still here in Canada. But you know what? I'm good with that. I think that everything happens for a reason. The divine, whatever, had a plan, and it's given me a few extra days to work on the new course that's coming out next week. So I think it actually worked out really well. And that course is Krishna and Christ, which we'll say a little bit more about in the podcast today. But just what a beautiful opportunity to explore divinity and explore two great yogis, and to take in the teachings of these great beings and discern what resonates with us, and decide what can we apply in our lives. And that's really the opportunity we have as yogis. Every time we take a yoga class or attend a yoga course, is discern for ourselves, what resonates and what are we going to implement. So that's what it's all about. What is on your heart right now, Hanna?
Well, I'm grateful to be here. And I was thinking about when you were sharing about the course with Krishna and Christ, and you are going to your ashram, Krishna life, and here I am in Rome, which is one of the major reasons why Christianity is a world religion as of today because of the Romans. And even just in Rome itself, Regina, my friend who I'm with here, she told me yesterday that there are over 900 churches in only just Rome.
Wow.
So imagine how long that would take to visit them all.
Wow. That's so
Mhm.
cool. It sounds like a very spiritual place.
Yeah.
And that is nice when we can be in those environments that, I've seen some of your Instagram stories. I've re installed Instagram to my phone because you're going to be putting up some posts. So I want to keep track of all the goodness you're creating. And I saw some of your stories, and there's like just a lot of beautiful spiritual things that I've seen that whenever you visit there. And yeah, it's like, I guess it's, as I reflect on the past holidays, right? We're just coming out of the holiday season, and I feel so much gratitude for a number of reasons. One, Hanna, we had a team day together with Kristen, the Muskoka team, and one of the things we did is we went through the Google reviews of, that students who have done courses with us have left reviews on Google. And it's just so inspiring to see the impact, to see the yogis who are taking the tools and applying them to their lives, and to see the transformation in their relationships, in their health, in their work, in the way they feel about themselves. And it's like, I feel like anytime, if we ever feel discouraged, or one of those days where, like, just can't get out of bed in the morning, this is a reminder for all of us as yoga teachers. Just remember the impact we get to have and the conversations that we get to have. And I feel like that's a big part of what yoga is. It's being authentic. It's being able to have these meaningful conversations. I was sharing with Hannah just before we hit start here. I had a therapy session yesterday, so that's number five. Five therapy sessions in the books. I'm almost fixed. No, I'm just teasing. There's no such thing as fixed, but gosh, does it feel so good to just be in that conversation. And there's so much I could share about that discussion. But one of the things that she reminded me of is because some of the insights that I was having and I was sharing with you, Hannah, I want to share some of this with you, and be in the conversation, and we want to share it with our community. And because that really is what yoga is all about, is having real and meaningful conversations. So it's a pleasure to be here today. What is with yourself, Hun, as you reflect on the holidays, going through the Google reviews? The our time together over the holidays. What stands out to you?
I'll talk to the Google reviews first because I put up a post today on Happy Jack Yoga, um, all the channels. Because what stood out to me when I read the, the incredible reviews that people leave is the fact that it's a community. And that's why I felt like I can put this up as a post, and it's not like um, you know, bragging, or doesn't feel wrong to post it, because almost every single one of the Google reviews are not about us as you and me, Jack, as teachers or what we've created, but more about the community. And that's what I always feel. I feel the same way, just like all of those reviews. I feel the same way. I feel gratitude for all of us coming together. And I always say it when people give us acknowledgments. I always say it's a co-creation, because it is like what you say, Jack. It's a conversation that we get to have. All of the yoga that we do really is a conversation. And if you don't participate, then it's just me, one-way conversation. Whereas I feel like our community is where we are in it together. And that's so beautiful and so meaningful. And it never makes it boring. And it always surprises me how we come together over and over and over again on every single call, on in every training. And
Mm,
every time it's different because we all contribute in different ways. Although there's a syntax, we go through similar techniques, and the syntax is the same, but every time we come together, it's a new, precious present moment.
mm,
And it's really beautiful to see that. And it makes me so humble and grateful to be able to lead and contribute to a community like this one, where all the conversations are meaningful.
mm.
So that was really, that's what stood out to me about the Google reviews. And
Yeah.
yeah, I look forward to seeing what we can create, because also another impact that these reviews have on us as a team is when we read them, we become really lit up. And we, I look forward to seeing how that inspires us to create other things and keep serving and always improve what we're doing. So
Hmm.
that's kind of like also another conversation that we get to keep having as a team in Happy Tech Yoga.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's exactly right. And I started that conversation just a couple of days ago. On Sundays with the community, we have our Sunday satsang. And actually, Alice is here. We got to have a nice little chat with Alice and others. And I was sharing with the community that, like, inspired by the Google reviews and inspired by just an awareness that we have, like, we recognize I feel like we're so blessed to be a part of this community that we've all co-created. And the disconnect, however, or the opportunity for improvement is, for example, our website, some of the newsletters that I send, some of our social media presence. Not that it's bad, but it doesn't exactly represent the the experience.
Community.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
doesn't represent the community, doesn't represent the experience here in the Zoom room, within the courses. And so it really has served as an inspiration, instead of having our traditional goals, which we always have, of like, how can we grow, how can we
Mhm.
invite more yogis into the community to empower and help. That's always a goal. But it's like, how can we upgrade our communications, and so it's a little bit of a rebranding experience. Really, what we do day to day, and the courses we do is not changing. I mean, of course, we'll always continue to improve, but it's more like, how do we match the communication to what we actually do? And it only comes through this feedback and this conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that's super exciting. And talking about, like, meaningful conversations, thank you, Hun. I feel like the last as with any relationship, whatever the nature of it, right? Like sometimes it goes really smooth. I'm not sure how, maybe Alice and Scott, you guys are just like seamless and it's just always high vibe and perfect. I'm not, it's head shaking, right? There's like, it's delicate, a relationship, and there's a dynamic, and we're always going through different things. And I feel like at moments of the holidays we had some disagreements, which is normal, but I feel like the last few days before you left, we were really able to come together and have some meaningful conversation, and it really
And maybe
stems.
navigate some deep waters as well in, you
Yeah.
know, our relationship that is um kind of constantly shifting and
Mhm.
like you say, it's something that we navigate. And this Christmas we had time to discuss and maybe even grieve some of it and you know.
Yeah, I feel like I did. That's something that I needed to do. I shared with you, Hannah. It's like on one side, I genuinely want you to be happy. I want you to live I want you to live your dream life and to be able to do all the things that you deserve and that you aspire for. And at the same time, selfishly, as I shared with you, you know, I it would be ideal if you're not like in a relationship with another guy, or I'm thinking like, yeah, just thinking like, the thought of that, like, I discovered kind of hurts me or it makes me sad, and which is interesting, right? Because on one side, like we recognize in a way, in one aspect, our paths are diverging, not with regards to the work we do, but perhaps with our intimate relationship, it's diverging apart. Um, and yet there was this part of me that, the nature of the friendship we have, the nature of the relationship we have is like it there's aspects of it that feels really good, right? That we get to still live together parts of the year, we get to work together. And I guess it was just a recognition for myself, that there's like an internal conflict. So nothing externally needs
Mhm.
to change per se, right? Obviously want you to live your life to the fullest, and I have some like internal detachment to do. And uh, and, and as you
Mhm.
pointed out, like that could be a part of the grieving process or the letting go process and the navigating. And so that's where I'm at.
Yeah, that's what's beautiful is that you're open to sharing and instead of maybe creating stories or resentment or traditionally people would then push away and not not engage
Mhm.
and create distance and maybe conflict that you choose not to do that I think is I'm grateful for that. I'd rather have a relationship with you that is real and raw, whether it's, now it's a friendship, but it's a relationship as friends. So I would rather have that kind of friendships than superficial ones. I think that's really great that you're able to, you know, not create conflict or distance, even if it's maybe a little bit challenging for you. And maybe you're learning to know something about yourself in this transition that we might have to kind of mention as well. Like we have decided to uncouple a year and a half ago.
Mhm.
And sometimes I think these things happen gradually, right? And it's been some years in the making, probably. And there's some parts of our friendship that doesn't need to change or be abandoned. And I think we can keep our friendship when we don't have resentment. And I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting you say about, you'd rather us be able to have this open conversation than creating stories. And I caught myself, and as I shared with you, I was inventing scenarios. Like the one night over the holidays, I was babysitting my nephews, and we're eating pizza and watching a movie, And late at
Many
night,
movies. We watched one movie together and we ate together.
yeah, we
Then
did.
you
Yeah,
guys
no,
kept going.
we
Just
binged
to,
for sure. Yeah.
just to
Um,
clarify.
yeah, and so in the evening, you were late in the evening, you were on the phone, and I started creating all these stories of like, oh, she's on the phone with some guy. It can't be a girlfriend. It can't be Erin. Erin would be sleeping. She's got young kids. It can't be Regina. She's in Europe. Like it's too late. And I'm like creating these stories and these scenarios in my mind, and then even when you went out for a long walk, and my nephews are like, Hanna went for a really long walk, and then like I'm starting to get all, yeah, she's been out for like an hour and a half. Well, I wonder what she's doing. Who's she talking to? And I noticed that was simply causing suffering for myself, and not everything was just hypothetical, um and so I guess I recognized in myself, this is not serving. This, all it's doing is creating stress for me, and and having me feel, not good towards you, and I don't want that. So I think that's what really stemmed the conversation, and just being able to be real, and know, then we kind of, yeah, just be able to talk it through, and I think that is part of the journey and the process.
Yeah. Thank you for being vulnerable and open and
Yeah.
willing.
And the other thing I mentioned, so I had that great therapy session yesterday. I wish I could articulate my therapist is just so damn good. You like, I wish I could articulate everything that she said, but I guess I have to do the work so I get it, not just in my head, but it really lands. But the one thing she kind of said, she's like, well, Jack, and she has a similar lifestyle to me. Like she's a bhakti yogi, and she doesn't eat animal products, and she doesn't take intoxicants. But she's like, actually, Jack, probably the majority of your yoga community is kind of more quote unquote normal, in the sense that like they have working careers, they have families, they engage in different things, and probably Hanna is a lot more like many of your students than you are. So, so just being aware of that, even if I'm trying out different things and experimenting with different things, and, next podcast, yeah, I've said it, and now I'm gonna say it again right now, because then it makes it like I can't back down. But tomorrow I go to the ashram. When I check in there, I'm buzzing my head off. I'm buzzing my hair off. I'm gonna shave it right off. I see Sue's reaction, and not that it's a requirement. In fact, most people there don't do that. But it is kind of a part of a traditional way to live at the ashram, and I'm just going to go all in. And I recognize that probably the majority of people are not going to be resonating with me, moving into ashrams, shaving their head, waking up at 4 a.m. to jump in a cold bath, although we know Brandon will. um, and so I've chosen, based on what I've read in the yoga scriptures, I've chosen a particular path, or I'm experimenting, I'm exploring different ways of living. um, and you also, I mean, you're reading the same types of texts, and you're interpreting what is yoga, and what does it mean to live a yogic lifestyle? What does it mean to engage in the world in your own authentic way? And the point being, she was kind of just like giving me a little dig in the side. She's like, Honda's probably more quote unquote normal than you are. So it's actually really healthy, consider, Jack, to have, if there's two leaders of the community, as if you were both moving into ashram and shaving your heads, that might not be ideal. It actually could be good to have, a little difference, a little diversity, and some stable ground on both sides. So again, I know I didn't articulate that nearly as well as she did, but gosh, it just felt so good the way that she presented it, and didn't tell me what to do, but just gave me a different perspective.
Yeah, that's really, really, I would, yeah, I think it's great with diversity. And then I think that in a way, we have gone through this in the past as well, because a lot of the people who are in our trainings are women as well. So then I think it's good that there's, that it's not just masculine system and masculine energy. And so
Mhm.
there's many things where we kind of complement or complete. And what's the word that I'm looking for? Complete each other, and all of us in the community, that we bring our different perspectives, I think is
Yeah.
valuable and makes space for more of the human experience because it's multidimensional and varies from individual to individual. And I think that a lot of people are drawn to all of the qualities that you bring, and and the insights and the learning, and your drive is very inspiring. That those are just some things that I cannot contribute with in the same way. So
Yeah,
yeah, I
that's right.
love
We
that.
we we bring it's important the different perspectives we bring, and I guess I just want to kind of establish and clarify for everybody listening, live with us and on the podcast platforms. It may this conversation may appear of like, oh, are things shaky? How are they going to unfold? How are they going to unravel? And I mean, true time will tell. But something, really after this Christmas holiday, I think that you and I, Hannah, can both agree on is that we feel really good about our co-creation of Happy Jack Yoga and the community we have here and the vision we have for this year, 2024 and beyond. So I guess we're sharing this not at a stage, because some of my stories I share like, oh yeah, I've navigated alcohol, you know, handled that, and all the other different adversities. Rather, we're sharing this journey in real time, and it may not, be perfectly articulated yet. But I think that's part of being a teacher, part of being a yogi.
Yeah, and I love the messy middle. And I think that it's a challenge for us to do it, to share things that we haven't quite finished navigating. And we're mindful and we talk about it outside of the podcast also, to, so that we both kind of feel good about it. We make sure that both of us are comfortable with what is shared here. So I feel great. And I think, Jack, is that I think that you learn to love me more now than before, because your love is coming more and more unconditional towards me, as
Mhm.
in this relationship that we are in now.
Yeah. Absolutely. That is the interesting thing, right? It's like since we uncoupled, and it's almost like the further we go away from having been an intimate couple, it's like the better we get along, the more respect, the more love. And not to say that it can't exist within an intimate relationship, but just the nature, the dynamic of our paths. Um,
Yeah, and the timing of our path. Like sometimes I would feel grief when I notice that you are now becoming the guy I would have wanted to meet when I first met you. The way you participate in life, and the way, your spirituality, your collaboration in the home, like all of these good qualities that now come easy for you. Um, Sometimes I feel like, oh, I wish we had always had this.
mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's interesting how it goes. And the other thing that my therapist shared, she's talking about like the internal landscape, like things, we get to have an ongoing dialogue around like boundaries and what is healthy, what is it, how much time can we spend together, can we live together? Of course it's possible, but let's talk about that. How much time do we live together? How much time do we spend together? What feels right? And as she was talking about this like internal landscape and having to eventually have a detachment, I'm the guy. I'm like, I'm looking for the action. What do I do? Do I pray? Do I wish? Like what do I do to achieve this internal detachment? And she's like, well, you could do any of those suggestions I said. You could pray, if it feels authentic. And she said, but of course, you know the way she articulated, she said, like, praying or wishing for, like, dear divine, dear Krishna, dear God, whoever a person prays to, please allow the highest expression of Hanna's and my relationship to unfold, whatever that may be. and it's just like, oh yeah, that's like a high level prayer, versus maybe a low level prayer that I felt a couple weeks ago would be like, dear God, please ensure that Hannah doesn't meet anybody. That's not very high level prayer. That's not empowering you, or like wishing for you to change, or something like that. But just this holding the space for, of like, dear, divinity, please allow the highest expression of our relationship to unfold, whatever that looks like. And it's like,
Hmm.
yeah, that felt good.
I love that. That makes my heart like expand when I hear that and it that prayer. And it makes me smile because it's very similar to the prayer I feel like I expressed and was exposed to when I was in Italy last time in the church in Tuscany, where I had like a really incredibly uplifting prayer moment by myself. And it was very similar to what you just mentioned that your therapist had suggested, like a high level prayer where you ask that I, in that prayer, asked for my life and my love and my work to be
Mhm.
at a level where it's so to say merits God's glory and grace so that it merits the blessings that it not merits, but exudes and matches that type of a life and that type of, you know, vibration. I'm lacking the words how to say that feeling and how that prayer landed to me. But then
Mm.
I'm also thinking when you say this, the reason why it makes my heart feel really good and like emotional and expand is that that type of desire sets the other person free. When that type of
Mm.
love, where there is freedom for the other person to be who they are and be loved unconditionally. And that to me feels like the type of love that I want to live in. And that doesn't mean I'm free to do whatever I want, but I will, out of my love, I will do things that are helpful and that are at the highest level. Just like we say in some mantra, we say, in loka samasta sukhino bhavantu, we say, let all beings everywhere be happy and free. And that means that we're abundant, that we can be generous with each other, that it doesn't cost me anything to be there for another human being and give them what they need. You know, it's not transactional love.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's the ideal. I get it's such an honor, I feel, to be on this journey and like waking up in a way. This is, having read the Bhagavad Gita over the holidays, and it really is about waking up and becoming self-realized. And I shared that little idea with you last night. Just like, the advanced yogi is not the one who can memorize the Bhagavad Gita or memorize all the verses in the scriptures, but it's the one who doesn't have a tendency for judgment and criticism. And when I heard that, it's like, well, that's what I want. That's my area for opportunity. And I feel like, I guess just through this conversation, through these, conversation, and this is where like self-inquiry, or svadhyaya, the Sanskrit term, is so important, self-study, right? And that comes through perhaps conversation with a therapist, perhaps conversation with a friend, conversation within a community, but then just being able to, I feel like the more real I can be and the more authentic, it sets me free. I met with, yeah, I was going to say, I met with, so for the Krishna and Christ course, which is coming up next week, it's going to be epic. We got a very special guest. If you're part of the community, please don't miss the live call on module 3, day 3, Friday. We got a very special guest. In fact, I'll let you know who it is right now. It's so my professor from Harvard Divinity School, Professor Francis Clooney, and I was on a call yesterday with him, kind of preparing for the course, and I noticed, because I feel like he looks out for me, and he wants the best for me, truly. And so when I let him know that, or when I thought about letting him know that I'm moving into the yoga ashram and gonna shave my head and all this, I thought that he would be worried for me, just like I would think my parents would be worried for me if they knew all the details of everything. But I said, you
And
know
that is
what, like,
because he's not of that faith tradition.
and not even
Just
just
to
because he's of
clarify,
that faith, but
why would he be worried for you? I just want you to be, can you explain that?
maybe go too deep in, and because um as you have suggested, right, like if I sometimes I'm the type of personality to go really deep in and go all in and climb the ladder of the Tony Robbins organization, check, did that. Climb the ladder of this organization, check, did that. And anyways, kind of like striving and more of an achiever, striver, driver type mindset. But I guess yeah, so not because he's a Catholic priest who has studied yoga philosophy for 50 plus years, but I guess um I don't know, I recognize that it's a big decision to join a spiritual community and to spend time there and to perhaps identify with them, like um so anyways, I just had this like internal resistance, but
But
on
you're not
yeah,
getting initiated.
no,
Is that correct?
that's correct.
As of
Yeah,
now. So you're just going there to spend time and live a yogic life. But
that's correct.
you felt conflicted about sharing that with him.
Yeah.
And what did
And
he say?
yeah, and I feel like it he understood. He's like, I get it, you want the full immersion, before you go back to Canada, to you've got this opportunity, and in fact he said, like, I would love if you hosted a little a talk, a conference, a mini conference at Harvard Divinity School and share about your experience, because we have others in the community that would be very interested in that. And it's quite courageous of you to go all in like this. So I guess, again, I was building up this story of maybe he's going to judge me, and he's going to see me next week at the chorus with a shaved head, and he's going to be like, this guy's gone off the deep end, he's lost it, which and just to see that he didn't, and maybe he probably wouldn't do it himself, of course, but the fact that he held the space and respected my decision, I guess I just felt more free, because I'm gonna have to see him all semester anyways. It was just a reminder of hiding things and holding things in doesn't feel good, and fully expressing it feels really good. And I'm aware that sometimes we have to be sensitive based on who is there and what we say, but it was just a reminder. And so it's yeah, of how good it feels to be in full self-expression.
And so that's not withholding. And then that's also integrity. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, integrity with myself, and I guess it's also a part of it is not worrying what other people will think about me, because I have this interesting relationship of like worrying what others will think, because on the one side I'm shaving my head next, like tomorrow or the next day, like I get there tomorrow, and on the one side, like, I know some people are going to look at me and think I'm nuts and I look crazy, or what are you doing? So on that side it's like I don't care, but on like a deeper level, like, okay, fine, you judge my hair, no problem, I don't care about that. But on a deeper level, like, if somebody's questioning my decisions or my spiritual path or my beliefs, uh I do care. And I wish I could say I don't worry what others think, but there is an element of that there. I'm just aware it's still there, that's a part of attachment. And I guess that came up for me a little bit.
And do you think this fear is something primal, like not belonging to a group and feeling like an outsider? Or what would, like, if you were to like look at the fear that has been there,
So say
how
that
would
again.
you describe how would you describe this fear
Hmm.
um of being maybe judged by other people by your choices? Is that like a primal fear of not belonging to that group? if you were to describe the fear?
I feel like I've stepped into a therapy session here. I know, I'm just teasing. Um, you are studying it. I've heard that question before and I haven't really reflected on it. Like, I haven't really thought about it for myself. It's not a matter of my safety, it's not a fear for safety. Um, I guess I feel like it's a I don't, you know what it is? I feel like I don't want to disappoint other people. Like I shared last week about how I would be sensitive how much of my bhakti yoga path I would share with my mom, not because I don't want to be authentic, but I want to be sensitive not to hurt her feelings, only because she has really no understanding at all about bhakti yoga. So hearing a little bits of things could worry her. And so I have that sensitivity of not wanting to worry my mom. And I had that to a lesser extent with my professor. Of course, it's not a long, a serious of a relationship, but it's like, yeah, just that, I don't want you to worry about me. And even, I mean, even you, Hanna, you know you have you have said, and rightfully so, be mindful how deep you go down any of these paths, because remember, Jack, you're known to go pretty deep down some rabbit holes, and not that any of them were bad, but you just kind of go deep, and then you try something else. So you've kind of reminded me of that. And so, yeah, I guess
And
yeah.
pause here. The reason why I remind you of that is because that's not why you're doing this. The the spiritual search is not a ladder, right? As you are noticing. And that's really beautiful to witness because I feel like I can see how it has enriched your life and your personality already now.
Yeah. And I feel like, actually, after the conversation with my therapist yesterday, it reiterated like the importance of our relationship and friendship, because I'm not worried about the path I'm on. I feel like it feels really good, it feels really healthy, it feels really full of love and full of growth. But I also almost I now I feel some additional security knowing that I have a friend like yourself that can keep an eye on me, and you're seeing the good things happening. But also, if I do go off the deep end, which I don't know what that means or what it looks like, you have a good friend, I have good people in my life, in fact, including the whole community here, that can be like, all right, let's reel it back in. Um, but it's like interesting. Oh, look at that beautiful little one.
Say hi.
We won't be able to hear because you got the earbuds in, but look at that
Yeah.
beautiful orange. Love it. Yeah, so it's like it feels good to it just feels good to have community and to be able to be in this conversation. Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
absolutely.
Well, that was a good little opening monologue. Um, we should jump to the yoga myth, and we'll see how much time we have for the hot seat. But I feel like that was a little mini hot seat, maybe. But let's jump to the yoga myth.
Yeah. Our yoga myth today is very simple, and I'm sure it will ignite some conversation. And the yoga myth is that yoga is expensive.
Mm, got it. Just before I address that, I just got to acknowledge, Sue. Can I bring you on video for a second? We don't even have to have uh, audio necessarily, but does that say David Bowie on your shirt? Oh yeah, David Bowie representing our resident rocker. Nice one. The funniest thing, I people tell me I look like David Bowie. I've got that like 20 times in my life, so it's not just a one-off. I don't get it every day, but I've got it like a bunch of times. So I'll leave that for others. Maybe not after I shave my head. Um, but okay, so the myth is yoga is expensive. Well, if you take an asana class in Manhattan, or if you take an asana class in Hong Kong, it can be, or probably London, it can be expensive. It can be, but at the same time, it doesn't have to be, right? Yoga can be free. Yoga can be sitting or laying, and taking deep breaths and focusing our attention on our breath, or focusing our attention on our mantra, or stretching. Yoga mat optional, right, Hun? It's almost 10 years ago. It's 2015 that you and I were in Africa together in Kenya, helping to lead a 200-hour yoga teacher training. When we were there in the impoverished areas, the slums of Nairobi, they didn't have yoga mats, right? Like right on the dirt floor, and my goodness, like they were doing yoga and they were loving it and they were getting the experience. So yoga does not have to be expensive.
I
Um,
guess being exposed to the teachings, some might argue that is expensive, but maybe today, in today's day and age, when there's social media and everything's online, to be exposed to yogic teachings might not be so expensive anymore.
I don't think so.
I'm
You know, I
right. I feel like maybe there's like a curve like this. Like in the beginning, it was cheap because it was a lifestyle, and if you were lucky to be exposed to it in India, it wasn't like what we think about yoga classes in Manhattan. Then yoga came to the West and it became, actors would do it, and then teachers were not that many, and the studios maybe charged something, and then it kept going up like that. But now I feel like that the U turn is going down again.
yeah, especially after the pandemic. It's
Hmm.
true. I mean, there's so many yoga classes. Everybody has access to YouTube. In fact, I hear staggering statistics that there's millions of people around the world, in third world countries, who do not have access to clean water, clean drinking water. But you better believe they have Wi-Fi and cell phones and access to the internet. There's a lot of people that have. It's quite incredible. So in that sense, there's all kinds of free yoga classes online on YouTube. There's all kinds of great educational content. And I would say even for certification, since the pandemic, things have gotten a lot more affordable. Like it used to be to train with us, right? 10 years ago, if you came with us to Bali or to Mallorca, Spain, or to Helsinki or to Costa Rica, where all the different places that we did, you were spending three to $4,000, to earn a 200-hour certification, and right, you got
Plus
flights and
flights
flights, accommodations,
in
uh,
addition,
and time
right?
away from family, time away from work. So
Mhm.
it was a very significant investment. And since the pandemic, being able to take all of the teachings, all of the content, and bring it online to the comfort of your own home, for a fraction of the price, right? Like a person theoretically, anybody listening to this right now, of course, the yogis who are with us on, are members, but somebody could sign up right now for a monthly membership to Happy Jack Yoga University, sign up for 4 months, and now for a matter of hundreds of dollars, earn a 200-hour yoga teacher certification and read the Google reviews. It still works. It's still very effective. In fact, I would say it's somehow more effective and more incredible. So even the teacher training and the certification side, um, is accessible to many.
Yeah, when we talk about finances and like that. But then I was thinking when I was thinking about this myth and the topic, I was thinking about like to be able to do yoga, you need to have peace of mind, or this is what like yoga I think brings to most people. If we're talking now about the physical yoga poses, um, because that's like what we in the West think of as yoga, right? Doing yoga poses. But
Hmm.
then I'm thinking like moments where I felt like I did not have access to that was when I was in, some kind of storm of grief or navigating depression and overwhelm and anxiety, at different stages of my life. And that has led me to think that peace of mind is a privilege. I don't always have access to that. And I'm a super privileged person, I would say, despite all my challenges. Um, you know,
Hmm.
so then that could be like maybe something that makes yoga and this kind of mindset a little bit exclusive because if someone has a lot of challenges, it's hard to also take in the teachings and it's hard to live them and implement them because
Mhm.
of the circumstances.
Yeah, and I feel like we need the initial exposure. So we can say all day long that, hey, yoga's, you can do it for free. It's free on YouTube. It's, you don't need any accessories. But if we live in an area of the world and we just have no exposure to it, that's why I'm so inspired by members of our community who are taking yoga into addiction centers and taking yoga into working with professional athletes, or taking yoga into the Parkinson's community, or taking yoga into the kids community, right? Like all the different things that these yogis are doing, and just making it accessible, making it possible, planting seeds. And I guess when I think about, like, so again, the myth, yoga is expensive. There's it's there's like the kind of the idea of either pay now or pay later. So even if you want to talk about investing, right, it can be done for free. Let's establish that. But even if you want to talk about like taking it a little bit more seriously and having some investment, it's like either we can invest in ourselves now at this stage, whether we're young, whether we're middle aged, whether we're senior, it doesn't matter, or wait until decades down the line and we didn't prioritize our health, we didn't prioritize our mental health, and and then we have other challenges to face, which can become costly. So it's, I think of another analogy of that, which is a little different, not yoga, but with regards to nutrition. It's like there's again kind of a little cliche saying, you can pay the farmer or pay the doctor. I would rather pay the farmer for organic, clean, healthy food. So I spend, that's like my, for sure, my biggest expense is food. And I buy all organic, and I'm not saying everybody else needs to, but I really invest in good quality, healthy, organic food, with the hopes and intention of preventing, having to pay the doctor down the road. And of course, life is unpredictable for all of us, but there's a lot better chance when we invest up front, whether it's nutrition or whether it's yoga. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Hmm.
So
Thanks for
so
sharing.
that's so I think we bust that myth. There's no way yoga. I appreciate that. There are ways to spend money. That being said, we should establish at the same time, yoga is a billion with a B dollar industry. So can a person spend money? Are there people spending money? Is there opportunity for us as yoga teachers to make a living? Absolutely. So there are opportunities, and why not? If we're gonna spend money every month for a Netflix subscription, why not spend money for a yoga education subscription, or whatever. um so there is ways to spend, but at the same time, I would say, and I don't mean this harshly, but at the same time, I feel like there's not an excuse to have access to yoga with all of the free online resources. And if you're listening, you're looking for directions, uh, we've got all kinds of free content. We're happy to share it. Send us an email at info@happyjackyoga.com. And all of these amazing yogis who are with us here. We got Noella, Sue, Brandon, Alice, Scott, Yada, and everybody listening on the podcast. They have amazing offerings and workshops and classes and different things.
But I would also say that yoga can initially be expensive, but then the impact of yoga isn't. Like once it is part of who you are and it's part of your spirituality and your way of breathing and regulating your nervous system, that doesn't cost any money.
Mhm.
It's a skill, I think,
Yeah.
like the results of yoga.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, it comes down to what we prioritize. This is something I shared on Sunday Satsang a couple of days ago. I mentioned that, for example, my brother, awesome guy, 4 years younger than me, a bit younger. Um, and he's living a very traditional life, right? He built his own home. He started his own business, like in the construction industry, and he's doing well, and he bought a tractor, and they have multiple snowmobiles and multiple vehicles, and lots of assets and lots of and And so from the outside, like, he's succeeding in life, right? His kids are immersed in hockey, and by all means he's doing very well and he's succeeding. He's prioritized certain things, right? Snowmobiles are not inexpensive to take care of. A boat gas, like, man, it just guzzles the gas. So he, for example, and not to make, he's not doing anything wrong at all. He has certain priorities for himself and his family, and my priorities are very different. That's right. We were talking about, like, simplifying our lives, and for some yogis who maybe are making a shift, they're in a career that is really not nourishing, and in fact pulling them down, and really seriously thinking about letting go of that career and going full on in the yoga, and which is very inspiring. And anytime we make a decision like that, I certainly did, I had to make adjustments to my lifestyle. And so it doesn't mean that we can't have all of those things, a house and a snowmobile and a boat. We can have all of those things and be yoga teachers for sure. And the more things that we have, it's more responsibility. And that's not a bad thing, but it is what it is. It's more responsibility. And for myself at this stage of life, for whatever reason, I'm choosing to really simplify and to not have those extra things that I think would have defined me in the past. I would have had them define me, like, ooh, I've got a fancy vehicle, or I've got a fancy this or that. And now it's like, that's part of the reason why at the ashram we shave our head. It's not that it's cool. It's not about joining the club. In a way, it's about not having attachment, not having attachment to how we look, not having attachment to what others think about us. And it's like, if we can do that for some period of time, then we come back into the quote unquote real world, and we have a hopefully a healthier relationship with these other things. Some thoughts.
Yeah, and I think it's also like a rite or a ritual that you go through symbolically, and it will have an impact when you kind of renounce your, your outward expression.
Yeah. Yeah. So nice one. Great conversation. So that's, I think,
Mhm.
let's bust that myth. Yoga is not yoga. Sure, it could be expensive, and it doesn't have to be. Yeah, I
Mhm.
like that. Noella says, for me, it's expensive not to have yoga. No doubt, right? I get that. I totally get that. Um, why don't we do this? Oh, and I love this. Sue's saying, I didn't read it all, but when I finally get up and running with her plans, which you will, to bring yoga to the neurological community, I hope to be able to do it for little or no cost to the students. You really feel strongly about being able to do that, and that's the thing is, when the work that we were doing in Africa, Hanna, right? The students there weren't paying; they were on scholarship, right? So there's certain communities, whether it's whatever that community is, sometimes we want to make it fully accessible so there's no boundaries, no limitations. And then there's other demographics where we can earn a living, right? And there are people who are able to invest in their education. So super exciting. We have got 5 minutes left. We hit me with a hot seat question. Let's see if we can
Okay,
sneak one
here it
in.
comes. It could take you a while to answer, but let's see if you can be concise.
Okay.
So, question number one, what are you leaving behind in 2023 in terms of a hard lesson that you learned this past year? Maybe something that burdened you or something that you don't want to bring forward into this year.
Mm. What I'm letting go of, and it kind of ties into what we were talking about earlier, is trying to, in a sense, control or manage what your life looks like, what our relationship looks like, kind of hanging on to the past. And it doesn't mean that we can't hang on to the good that we have, but also, in order for either of us to spread our wings and fly and be in the highest expression of ourselves, we have to give each other that space. And so I guess I'm letting go of, I'm working on letting go of that attachment, and I realize it's all internal work. So nothing externally needs to change from the outside. In fact, we joke about this, Hanna, right? Like, if probably people see us, they just think we're still a couple. Like, I mean, we were out walking the dog at the start of the holiday season, and it was icy, and you're like holding onto my arm because you were almost falling, slipping all over. So here we are walking down the sidewalk and like arm in arm, and we're like, if anybody saw us right now, they'd be like, what is going on with these two? Like, they're clearly still a couple. But it's, because we have such a beautiful friendship and a beautiful relationship. So I guess, with the intention of hanging on to that and letting that unfold and grow, but letting go of you or others needing to be like me. I think that's a big one. That's a big one that I'm
Wow,
gonna.
that's
Yeah,
huge. And that
yeah,
aligns with the other intention you mentioned about the not criticizing, or I don't know how you worded it earlier. That was really beautiful as well.
yeah. I want to get to that place. I want to, and we've told the story when I was in India and doing all of that letting go work with the fire ceremony. I did seem to have a different energy of less judgment and less criticism. So something that I want to really practice here at the ashram over the next few months is, continuing that, and just being more accepting and being more loving, and recognizing that no one, and that's a good thing, that nobody else is like me and that we're all unique. Um, and and it's a work in progress. So I guess that's what I'm looking forward to for this year.
I love that. That was a great answer. Now, to end on a high note, what
Yeah.
came with ease in 2023 for you? Something that was easy and
Yeah.
abundant and
What came
fun.
with Honestly, what came with ease for me is like studying at Harvard Divinity School. Like, it's just like, my God, I when we went on that sabbatical, October 2020, and just spent a week reading, I guess I just fell in love with reading and studying. And so even though it's a lot of hard work and a lot of commitment, it's so easy for me. In fact, that's what I did on the Christmas holidays when I was visiting my parents. I was just like immersed in books, and I'm reading, and I'm highlighting and underlining stuff. And so I guess that came with ease. I guess this hunger for wisdom and hunger for the truth, and just to, accent that with, I don't think there is only one truth, and that's something we'll get to talk about in the Christian and Christ course. There isn't only, oh, this is the way or that is the way. But I'm seeking the truth, and I feel like that's coming through studying, and it's coming through this dialogue. It's coming through the dialogue I get to have at school in Boston, and the dialogue we get to have here with our community. Like, I'll just say, like, this is a beautiful conversation you and I get to have, Hanna, right now, and then others listen to, and the yogis who are here with us live. And I also long for all of the other calls we have within our membership. Again, coming back to the yoga and investing, for those who have invested in their yoga education and they are members of our community, and we meet multiple times a week to talk about various topics. Those conversations are so nourishing for me. So that came
I
easy.
love it. That's wonderful. Can I say one thing about the questions and the truth that you said? Um, there's a quote by Rilke, and it says like this: I beg you to have patience with everything unresolved in your heart, and to try to love the questions themselves as if they were locked rooms or books written in a very foreign language. Don't search for the answers, which could not be given to you now, because you would not be able to live them. And the point is to live everything, live the questions now. Perhaps then, someday, far in the future, you will gradually, without even noticing, live your way into the answer. Isn't
Nice
that
one.
beautiful?
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful quote to end on. Thank you for sharing that. I'll just quickly announce a few little logistics. The 200-hour Hero's Journey starts January 21st. Anybody that would love to join, read the Google reviews, and you get a sense of what's possible for your life. So send us an email if you're interested in that. Christian in Christ starts January 17th. If you want to join us for our weekly yoga class on Fridays, And then everybody who supports us in Patreon, for the price of a cup of coffee per month, gets to support this weekly podcast, gives us the inspiration to show up and to invest the time in doing the research to create new content and put everything we have into it. So thank you for all of our Patreon donors, my friends. Make it an amazing rest of the day, and we'll see you again soon. Namaste.
Namaste, friends. Thank you, as always, for being here. It's a co-creation. Thank you. Namaste.